how does life change if you could actually plan better so you could accomplish the goals? And how many of you never want to sit in another meeting again where you ask yourself why you can't have that hour of your life back? So I'm Amber Christian, founder of Wonderly Software Solutions. We build a product called Scena. I've worked in technology for 20 years, and about 2.5 years ago, I hit the wall. I'd been in one too many really painful meetings where I was like, why do we have to do the same thing over and over and over again? So I went searching for a solution. So meetings have got to be more effective. They cost too much. You think about everybody's time involved in them, and it's like meeting bingo. I'm double, triple booked, and maybe people are coming, maybe they're not, maybe they've prepared, maybe they haven't. So I walked on this journey of saying, there's got to be a better way to do this. And I looked, and I looked, and I looked, and I got really mad at my industry, and I decided to go build software. That's really how it happened. So I spent the first 17 plus years as an SAP implementation consultant. So I really resonated with what you talked about with etiquette because I worked on all 6 continents and worked with many, many different major multinational corporations. But I wanted to change this whole dynamic around what it meant to meet and what it meant to be productive and how do we make sure we're working on the most important things. So why don't you go ahead and go to the next slide. So if we really take a look at how you're managing your productivity today, just to have a meeting, you're using at least 5 to 7 different tools, at least. You're trying to figure out, you're doing things by hand, you're doing things in some applications. It's kind of a mess if we really look at it. We said the name Scena actually means beautiful scene in Italian, where most of us come in and we look at our calendar in the morning, we're like, wow, it's like a crime happened here. I got a few meetings and I'm trying to shove stuff in. And I said, I want to create something that's more beautiful than that, where we're really looking at our time and actively taking control of our time to make sure we get our most important priorities done. So what we've really done is we've created a unified calendar, to-do list, and meeting management application all rolled into one to make your meetings more effective, make your time management more effective. So we can go ahead and go to the next one. So what this is we really want to create one view of time. No more all these separate applications. So we've paired your to-do list, and by the way, it integrates with your calendar. So you say, oh, here's my meetings, here's my to-dos, and we wanted it all to be visual. So now this is where I'm going to get a little nerdy on you. So having been in technology for almost 20 years, I'm a huge fan of human-centered design. Does anybody know what it is that doesn't know me? I know quite a few of you know me. Does anybody know what human-centered design is? Yeah. It's a really fancy way of saying I talk to customers a whole lot. Mm-hmm. I ask them, what would you need built? What are your pain points? So often in technology, we say, oh, I know your pain point. I'm going to design your solution. Here, go use it. And you look at that and you're like, I don't even have that problem. Well, come on, use it. And they're like, but I don't think like that. I don't work like that. So we actually spent 2 years bringing our product to the market. We had feedback from over 150 people. And as a woman who's been underrepresented in technology, one of the things I'm most proud of is saying that over half our feedback came from women in building this product. So I do talk about my software as a girl. And it's a little weird for people. I said she. So I always refer to she. And some people ask me, is Bella a person or a product? She's a product, and she has a personality too. But this is really around this idea of one actionable view of your time. So if you take a look at your meetings, I wanted you to be able to know, hey, has everybody actually accepted that meeting and is going to be there, or should I move it right from the calendar? I don't have to click around multiple times, figure out, are they going to be there, are they going to be prepared? And all of this integrates back to either your Google Calendar or your Office 365 calendar as well once you do planning. So this is actually one of the features that people loved the most that we've built into our product. It's a concept called the visual timeline. We want to use good design to nudge people into behaviors that help everyone around them, themselves included. And what we've learned is people have a tremendous amount of meeting anxiety. Raise your hand if you've ever walked into a meeting and been really nervous about it because you didn't know what was going to happen. Mm-hmm. Right? Yeah, who hasn't been there? Or walked into a meeting and been like, wow, someone wanted me to present something and nobody told me. And trying to, maybe it's just me and the type of work I did. But if there would be surprise, you were supposed to prepare. We want to say, how do we manage expectations better so people are prepared, so it's effective, so we don't have to have that same meeting over and over again. And so this idea of putting a visual timeline, it's optional. But when you come in to create a meeting, we're like, hey, nudge. Hey, look at that. We create an intro, wrap up. You can actually add to it. You can plan. And you've just naturally done something via design that helps everyone involved in that conversation. Yeah. I'm also a little bit of a rebel, so I don't see the traditional boundaries other people see. So one of the things that just peeves me and drove me crazy is I'm like, why are meeting notes in our to-do list, like, why don't they play nicely? Like, why is one over here on paper or one's in a Word document? It doesn't connect to my to-do list. So the other paradigm I broke with this is, okay, so let's look at meetings. So we actually take our meetings and our meeting notes. What you can do is you actually create your to-dos for the people that are in your meeting, and they go right on their to-do list. Like, no more arguing about, well, no, I didn't really take that to do. Well, no, you were really supposed to do that to do. We have one version of the truth through Bella. So we're able to create our meetings, our meeting notes. And the best thing of all, the place you actually find these after you say your meeting is on the calendar, right where it happened. No more digging all over the place. And so what I really said is, what are the pieces to the puzzle and how would I want them to play nicely together? And then walk that journey with others to understand what was bothering them as well in building out our product. So the last thing I'm going to show you before we'll kind of go into where am I going with target markets and all that is we also learned in our research with our early customers, our first customers tend to be solopreneurs and small companies. For our first customer base, we launched in beta in August, so we're actually out in the market. And we started hearing from people, hey, this idea of just creating one thing at a time doesn't help me when my entire brain is completely overwhelmed. And so working with some user feedback, we said, what do you do when you have that day where it's like a fire hose and it's just like coming at you and you can't even see straight, right? Because you're like, there's like 14 different things. So when we worked with people, we created this feature called the deep breath that was really about, all right, you hit the little Bella button, see it down there, and you add each one to your list. You type and tab, type and tab, type and tab. You just brain dump. I mean, you are just vomiting out those to-dos, and you're like, okay. All of a sudden, calm starts coming back. And so again, design is all about how do you help yourself when you get in these overwhelmed states, because every other piece of technology is notifying us and hijacking our brains, right? And so how do we help you work your way out of that? And so we created this deep breath feature really to help people when they're in this state of overwhelm to kind of get back to that equilibrium where they're in that calm place of being and being able to focus. And so that was something recently that we had built out. We'll go ahead and go to the next one now. I always talk about going from chaos to clarity because a lot of us are struggling with the time management. So who are our target markets? So even after I got out in the market, I continued having conversation after conversation because we all know there's the people who say they're going to buy it and then who really buys it, and those are always two entirely different sets of people, right? And for me, what's really emerged, so the EOS conversation was really timely, and I'm actually seeing a significant amount of interest from companies running EOS, and that's really about the better meetings and the timelines. And so we're actually developing features specifically to support the EOS market. And I also have had another community emerging as well of companies that have acquired a lot of companies and have a whole bunch of different platforms and need something that sits on top. Because Bella sits on top of Google or on top of Office 365 is really this unifying product. So it's been a super interesting journey the last couple of years. I'm starting to do more and more sales in the B2B world, which is kind of what I came from, so it feels very, very normal to me. And at this point, I will open it up for questions.